Welcome, everybody. We're back on Arkansas High School football pregame chat. And joining us again this season is Coach Clay Totty from RISON. Welcome aboard, Coach. Good to see you again.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, yeah, them Wildcats have been getting it done since the last time we spoke. You guys are, 5-0 and going into a game that could potentially decide the conference.
Yeah, very proud of our young men. They just continue to get better. Our seniors have really stepped up and played as you hope your seniors do, played their best ball. And, we've overcome a lot of adversity. I think I mentioned on the first show, we had 7 projected starters that left us. Well, we've had 6 starters out at some point in time with injuries for at least
Incredible.
2. And to be here 5-0 in this situation, of course, we thank the good Lord. And a lot of prayers have been lifted up for us, but our kids have been playing really hard.
Yeah, and you mentioned prayers, and I do want to just make a quick mention of our thoughts and prayers from the pregame chat group is definitely with all those who have been affected by Hurricane Ian. A lot of the footage you see from Fort Myers is of Estero Beach, and my wife and I go there quite often and vacation, and it's amazing to see the footage and have some real world understanding of what actually it is we're looking at or what it was that we're looking at. So a lot of devastation, a lot of families impacted, and we definitely send our thoughts and prayers out to every one of those folks. Definitely. Okay, Coach, got some numbers for you. 302 and 236. Do those ring a bell in any way, shape, or form? 302 and 236.
Not until you mentioned it in the before we come on there.
the pregame chat. Yeah, for those that don't know, 302 is how many games you have coached for the Wildcats, and that 236 represents a winning percentage of about 78-79%. So congratulations on those two. You passed that 235 milestone the other night, and a couple of weeks ago you got that 300th game under your belt. So congratulations. That's a big achievement all the way around.
Thank you. Been very blessed. This week for sure, the Fordyce week, I think back about a lot of that type of things. Of course, I don't know those numbers, but just in general, when I was growing up there, come from working people, and my dad used to always tell me that he played at Fordyce for several years, there back in the 60s. And he would always, that was the only thing he had to be proud of. And man, I look forward to, I thought, man, if I could play for the Fordyce Redbugs, man, I'll have a great life. And I can remember when my career being over, thinking, what am I going to do? I had no desire to go to college. I had a vision problem, a lot of strikes against me. And to sit here and when you're reciting numbers like that and to think of the joy that I've got from coaching all these years, I'm a very blessed man.
Well, Coach, we know you've been there for quite a while, but I'm going to put some money on the table and bet that you haven't been there for all of the 71 years that the rivalry's been going on. 71 years. It is currently the longest active consecutive streak for Arkansas high school football rivalry. That's a milestone in of itself. You guys and those Redbugs.
Yes, it is. And, I get asked about it a lot. If you're from here, then there's really no explanation needed. I mean,
sure.
But if you're not from here, I don't know that any explanation would be satisfactory. I mean, it's just a way of life here, and there's so many crossover connections. I mentioned with me, Fordyce. Coach Parker we played on the first district championship here at RISON in 1948. Went and coached Fordyce, had a 38-game win streak, which was the longest at that time. That springboarded his career, which he eventually became the head coach of Clemson, then came back and was the head coach at RISON. Well, he recommended me for the job back in 1998. And there were just so many connections back when my dad played for Coach Parker at Fordyce. And I think that's pretty well most people's story. I think everybody in the two towns that have been generational, have connections in both towns, and that just kind of adds a lot to it.
And a lot of folks who may not be aware or would be surprised at who the field is named after.
At Fordyce?
Yeah.
Yes, Paul Bryant Stadium. Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
The Paul Bear Bryant. Yep, that's one and the same. So, first time I heard that, I was really shocked. I was like, I had no clue, no idea. So, that, as you say, that's another connection, between the folks there. They know that. They don't need an explanation of who the field's named after. They'll tell you in a heartbeat.
And this is a little known fact that I was sharing with a reporter. Coach Bryant went to Kingsland Elementary.
Mm-hmm.
See, our school district, we're consolidated with Kingsland, so we claim him over here also.
Now, wasn't there a famous country singer from Kingsland?
Yes, sir, Johnny
Yeah.
Cash.
Yep,
Yes,
he's
sir.
related to my wife too. See, small world. Got some friends related to the Cashes,
and I went to at Fordyce, a little old country church there called Southside Baptist, and Coach and Johnny Cash's aunt Ruby Bowers and Miss Fanny. Those were his. Like his Miss Fanny, I guess, was his aunt, which was Ruby's mother.
Mm-hmm.
And come into town. He was always going to come see them. And when you're a kid, I can remember Coach Bryant coming to town, and he would go to a gas station there. To a former Chet Darling was a former teammate of his, and we had a friend from church. He always drank coffee with Chet, and he would never tell me after the fact. He'd always come by the house and he'd stop and he'd say, "Guess who I visited with today?" I said, "Who?" And he'd say, "Coach Bryant." And I say, "How come you didn't come tell me?" And he said, "You'd have told all your buddies."
Yep.
That's why he slips in and slips out of town. He don't want everybody in the world out there. So
exactly, smart man.
Yes, sir.
Smart man. Well, there's no doubt it's going to be a big expected crowd there. Both Fordyce and Rival travel well, so RISON gets the chance to repay the packed house favor this weekend by going over to Fordyce, making that short trip. But there has been some news and has been some concern about some potential violence threats that I don't know if they've been substantiated or not. But nonetheless, what I do know that I can share is that some threats were made. The basic premise is that some violence would occur either at the game, during the game, surrounding the game. So from what I read from the superintendent of Fordyce, they're doing an enhanced search when you enter. They're going to have some wands and clear backpacks only for those people that are bringing a backpack in for whatever reason. But the main thing is the enhanced augmented law enforcement. What do you know about that aspect?
Well, I know I personally heard from law enforcement that it will be, it will be enhanced, and that it'll be it'll be the safest place. The exact quote to me was, "It'll be the safest place in Arkansas Saturday."
Wow.
Friday night. So, I've got 2 daughters, I've got a wife, I've got a mother, and I've got some aunts, and they're all going to be there. And if I thought that it was unsafe or something was going to happen, I sure would tell them to stay at the house. So
Sure. Well, I appreciate you providing us a little more background on that. And again, everybody has to make their own decision, but I would be remiss if I knew something like that was out there and didn't share that with our viewers. So there it is. And hopefully everyone will have a safe event there Friday night on both sides of the competition. Talking about the competition, let's go ahead and get into it. We talked about the longest rivalry, consecutive games, 71 years, but over the last 12 years or so, and it's important to note because I use that benchmark because if I'm not mistaken, Coach Bridges has been there about that time, about 12 years.
Coach Rogers,
I'm sorry.
Coach Rogers. Yeah.
I told you I need to put these on. Coach Rogers.
Like
so
me.
yeah.
Actually, Coach Rogers actually came there in 1986 as an assistant coach. He was coached me in junior high. He was an assistant in junior high coach in junior high, and he stayed there that whole time. I think he probably became the head coach probably along that line. What you're saying there, probably 12, 13 years ago. But yeah, he's been there a long, long time. Sure has.
Well, I use that, dozen years to my recollection of him being there to mark that 8-4 lead that Fordyce has. So you guys have got a good chance this Friday night to put another one up in the win column for RISON. You lost a close one last year, 20-16. RISON has a tendency to win a couple in a row when they start that winning streak. What's your offense looking like going into that game as far as health and ability?
Well, I mean, the thing about it is our kids are tough kids. We fought through a lot of stuff this year. So they're, come Friday night 7, we don't worry about that. They're going to go out there and play to the best of their ability. But, Fordyce is a very talented team. They have great team speed on defense, and their coaches do a good job with them, putting them in position. And, they got size in the right places, size on the line. And, but the thing that jumps out is just the overall team speed. They can, their pursuit can keep you from getting a whole lot of big plays.
Yeah, and they've got a lot of speed on both sides of the ball for that matter. But the one thing that really jumped out to me when I was looking at this matchup is the fact that RISON has a better defensive presence when it comes to the score. Now, granted, you guys have only had 2 conference games versus Fordyce. I think they've had 3 conference games so far, but you guys are giving up about a touchdown a game. Fordyce is giving up almost 29 points a game. So that tells me that they can be scored on.
Well, we hope so. It all comes down to matchups a lot of times. I know they had some guys out there in some of those games, and they had some, for whatever reasons. And so probably some of those scores are a little deceiving. They're kind of like us. They'll be all hands on deck Friday night, but we certainly hope we can score some points on them for sure.
Well, on the other side of the ball, your defense is going to be facing a quarterback that's not had a lot of playing experience, but he's very talented, very good, and he too has some speed, and that's Burks, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
Yeah.
very, very talented kid. I think he came in there from Hampton. Very, very athletic kids. Brother was a great athlete there for him there a few years ago, and just a super talented kid. I think the brother signed with Purdue out of high school there, and he can run. He can throw. He's kind of a different speed than most people that they play against.
So you have a choice between the quarterback and their running back, Tristan Beelan. Hopefully, I'm saying that right. I mean, he's short in stature, but what he lacks in height, he makes up in beast mode, as they say for the old NFL player Marshawn Lynch. This guy, he's got a lot of the moves that will get him to avoid tackles, and then when he's in the open, he's just going out there. And what are you going to do or try to do as far as being able to corral him without getting too specific, of course, because, this guy can line up in the front of the I formation and run it up the middle as well as get the ball on the pitch out. So it's not like he's one dimensional.
Yeah, we have to tackle him low. I mean, he's got a good center of gravity. You can tell he's a strong kid. So you got to get on those legs, and you take those wheels out from under him, and that limits some things. So I think that'll be key there. I think his nickname actually, Mike, is Special K. Is what they call him. He sure
he's
lives
a special one.
Yeah, he sure is. So that's what we told our kids all week. We try to spend a lot of time on that. Just getting down in those legs for sure.
Yeah, I've seen some of his footwork in some film I looked at, and he's not a Barry Sanders. So when I say that, folks don't think I'm comparing this guy to Barry Sanders. I'm talking about his footwork only. To be the full complement of Barry Sanders, you got to have a lot more than just agility and speed. But his footwork is the kind that you look at it and his steps do not indicate where he's going next. So defenders will have a hard time really focusing in on where he's going to be when they're trying to make that tackle because he is so shifty. Is there anything you guys do at practice-wise to kind of get those defenders, like you said, tackle them low, get them focused, get them centered? Any type of special drills you guys use to enhance that aspect of tackling for a player such as him?
Well, we work a tackle circuit at least 2 times every week, but it's a little bit different when you go through a tackle circuit and you tackle your own, and then when you have to tackle it. He like you said, he's a special talented player, and as they've got very many of them. I mean, number 5 Edge is a very talented kid. And of course, his family have all been good athletes there. The Pool, number 1, the receiver, is a college athlete. I'm not sure if he'll play DB or receiver in college. he's a very man. They just got tons of talented kids there, and and have for very many years. So it's like I tell our kids, if it's a horse race, then we don't need to show up, because we're not going to be able to match that. So we have to. We have to play sound. We have to play fundamental football. We have to play team defense. We have to pursue. We got to do a good job in the kick game. We really the story for us the last few years is, we'll win, say 75% of the plays, and in 5 or 6 plays, that turns into a big score, big play for them, and so that's kind of been our issue. Been our issue here for a lot of years, but we'll be tough, and we'll hopefully be focused and go out there and execute well.
Coach, looking at the matchups, and again, going back to that 12-year time frame that I used, I saw something that stood out. And if I remember correctly, 8 games of those 12 were decided by a touchdown or less. So that tells me that, the teams are outside of those anomalies where, like you said, you get a couple of plays that blow up on you, and, you get a big score, but routinely it's a 3, 4, 5, 7-point game, 1, 3. I mean, it is, single digits for the most part. Of those 8 games, in those single digit wins, I want to say RISON's defense is what really stood out to me. Looking at the score, is that, the battle was on. As far as what's coming up now from a coaching philosophy, knowing that the games are going to be close and that you're going to have to take advantage of every opportunity, not just on the field for your players, but you as a coach, does knowing that tie into your decision making on some of those risky 4th down decisions, or maybe trying to air it out a little bit when convention says run the ball? Does that change your coaching strategy, knowing that the games are close and you're going to look for an advantage in some way, shape, or form?
Well, I'll say this: we want a close game. That gives us a chance.
Right.
We're not, like I said, we're not going to win a track meet. We're not going to blow them out. And you look through the history of the rivalry. I know in 25 years I've been here, that's just not the case. I think maybe one year, and that was our 04 team that went 15-0. I think we beat them 30-8. So just about every one of ours, and probably throughout the history of the rivalry, if RISON wins, it's going to be a close, just because RISON traditionally doesn't match them athletically. So, we're comfortable in that type of game, and I can remember my mentors, my coaching buddies, Coach Parker, Coach Cox, guys that mentored me, a lot of those guys, they would always say, as a coach, you want to put your guys in a position to win. Actually, you want to win the game, but if you put your guys in position to win, and then it comes down to, big time players making big time plays and big time games, and guys have to step up and make that big play at that crucial time. We don't know when that crucial time is going to be, and I think about the ones that did win. We had a guy named Rock Caldwell. We were getting beat 27-10 in 2010, and man, he just took it to another level. I mean, he was breaking tackles. Quinterio Heath made a big interception at a crucial time when they was driving down the field. I remember Dylan Smith. I think we won it 34-30 there one year, and he had he made some big runs there on short yardage situations. So and that, I think, as a coach, I'm comfortable with that. I want to be in that type of game. Chances are for us to win the game, it's going to have to be that type of game. If it's a blowout, then it doesn't favor the Wildcats. So, we feel like we've got some guys that have stepped up throughout the year, so that gives us confidence. We won a tight game there with Bismarck. Had several guys step up there. We were, I guess, a 30-28 game there with Darnell in the 4th quarter, and we had some guys step up there. And last week, 15-14, we were trailing at half to Harmony Grove, and we've had various different ones step up throughout the year. Roger Boswell made big plays, big sacks, block punts. Braden Dupree, big runs. Blaine Dixon, DJ Kynes, Travion Wainwright, Zakyler Walker, some of our linemen, Tank Johnson. That's the good thing about us, is we're playing true team football. Man, I have a lot of confidence that we have several different guys that have shown, not just that I hope, but have already proven that they'll step up in those situations. So we're comfortable with that.
Well, those type of games generally result in a more physical game than a lot of people realize, and a lot of that physicality happens there in the trenches. Now they've got a relatively young defense. I think they're returning 3 starters from the previous season, just 3 or 4 starters. Your offensive line matchup against their defense is going to have to really be on their toes in order to continue to drive that ball down the field, keep it a low scoring game, like you mentioned. As far as your line, is it healthy? Are they in a position where you've got a little depth this year?
Well, I tell you, I'm very proud of our line. They continue to get better. We've had to, I say, revamp. We've had to reconfigure our line 4 times since the spring. We lost. We're playing our 4th guy at left tackle. But he circled back around, so he he was out for, I guess, 4 weeks, and he got cleared, and he got cleared the week that we lost our 3rd left tackle. Dylan Dead broke a foot, and so we have shuffled that around multiple times. But which is, my friends say it sounds like I'm making this stuff up, but it's really unbelievable for a small school for us to be in the situation we're in. That's why I say I thank the Lord. But this group here has been together, I guess, probably playing together for about 3 or 4 weeks, and they played their best game last Friday night. They really did a good job, and that's give them guys some props. That's Ryan Cottrell, Travion Johnson, Cole Dedman, James Lee Jacobs, Braden Matthews, Roger Boswell, Thomas Wilson, Eli Turner. Those guys all play there.
Awesome.
Yeah, they've done a good job for us. But now, hey, it's going to be a challenge Friday night. I mean,
there's no
doubt. I'm sure some of those linemen will get some college looks. They've got some big athletic kids there that are very talented.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you visiting with us tonight, and I know this is, for me anyway, it's the game of the week. I'm interested. I know it's on the radio, and I'm interested to follow it if we can't be there in person. So, wish you guys all the best, and maybe we'll be able to talk to you again come championship playoff time. What do you think?
Hey, that would be nice. Hey, I told somebody else earlier this week, we appreciate all the statewide attention. We really do. But, it's always been a big one down here for us. We could meet up at the parking lot there at Walmart and get after it and just be perfectly content. But we certainly do. Our kids enjoy it. Our town enjoys all the statewide recognition that we get during this week. Sure do. And thank you very much.
Well, I tell you, it's always a pleasure to visit with you, Coach, and God bless, and best of luck to you guys on Friday night.
Thank you, Mike.